Hey, this is Helen Paradise from SoCal, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, good evening, and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to get in touch with the show this evening, if you don't know how to follow the show, your first time catching in on the live stream, and you want to know all the contact info, take a listen.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the hotly revamped and totally sexy website, the bbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter, by the way, which is something you can also re-sign up for on the newly revamped homepage and website, because when we moved over to the website terrorists, not only did the email stop working, but the newsletter stopped working, but then we moved over to Jotful. They reconnected everything. So not only can you do for the newsletter, but in the under the subscribe tab at the bottom, if you want to give show feedback or a topic you would like to hear, fill out that little form, hit submit, and then I get notified about that, and I can put together a show in the future. So many different ways now that you can contact me, and we thank the folks over at Jotful for making all that happen. In about 12 minutes from now, because we are now officially in the 6th month of 2023, a person who has never before let off a month on the first Tuesday, and of course, I'm just kidding, it is our pal Malcom Reed joining us from Killer Hogs, How to Barbecue Right, yes. And then, 35 past the hour, a quarterly visitor down a little south and west of me, and the founder of Another Pint Please, Mike Lang, joins us on the show. And then we move to the second hour because it is the first Tuesday of a month, but in the second hour you find this guy always, Sam, the cooking guy. Yes. Who I had a phone call with earlier today talking about utter nonsense that had nothing to do with the show, which those are the best phone calls. And rounding out the show this evening, a second-time guest and the creator of Girls Can Grill and the associated website, girlscangrill.com, Christy Vanover, closes the show. Don't forget, you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and the Snapper Snaps at BBQ Central Show. And of course, we are saying good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of the video streaming platforms, Facebook or Twitch/BBQ Central Show. Also, you can take in the show via YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. And we do have a new poll question of the week. It was something else about 4 hours ago, and then I got an email from embedded correspondent official in Colorado, Dennis Busso, who has now created this poll question of the week. I'm asking you this, and it is hotly debated right now over on the tubes. Would you make a 50-50 mix of wood pellets and wood chips, mix them together, 50%, let's say a 5-gallon bucket, so 2.5 gallons of wood pellets and 2.5 gallons of wood chips, not weighted, just that in volume, and then mix them together and open up your pellet cooker's hopper door and slam that mixture in there? Would you run it to increase the smoke flavor from your pellet cooker? And currently, at breakneck speed, nobody can make up their mind. It's a deadlock. Yes and no, forcing it together. But before we got to the first result here, it was no winning by the slimmest of margins, and now that has corrected itself. Oh, wait a second. Now it has changed. Currently, 55% of you are saying no, you won't do it. I'm hesitant to even ask the question because I'm not here to purport anything other than I was doing a little research. I ended up on YouTube. There was a show that was recommended. No, you know what? That's a total lie. Dennis from Colorado sent me something on YouTube. This is what happened now. There's a YouTube channel called Ballistic Barbecue. I think I've heard of Ballistic Barbecue. I don't recall the host at all. And this was his method. Now, he was using a specific cooker, a Lone Star pellet cooker. I'm familiar with the brand, but I have no intimate knowledge of any of their cookers. But this is the one he's using. And he's saying, hey, to give you a more kicked up smoke flavor, he has decided to use 50-50 mix of wood pellets and wood chips. The wood chips he was using were the Lone Star Grill's brand. I doubt, I don't know this, but I would doubt that they are manufacturing their own. Maybe it's private labeled from some other one. I don't know how much difference there is from chip to chip. But this is what he's doing to get a bigger smoke flavor. So the only question, I'm not recommending doing it. I'm only asking, would you consider it, making a 50-50 mix of wood pellets and wood chips to increase smoke flavor in your pellet cooker? And right now, 55% of you are saying no. We'll keep you updated through the show here this evening. So let's start here this evening. And I have to ask, is this going to be the weekly email or emails that I'm going to get from here on out? Did I get less than 200 emails through the course of the week telling me that I should start a new or additional podcast with Bob Trudnak and Mo Kason? So many emails telling me how great the extended interview was, the interaction between the three of us was, the interaction between Bob and Mo was, the fact that some of you secretly don't believe that these two guys are anywhere near as good friends as they purport to be. The reaction to the segment, almost second to none. I can't comment on how tight Bob and Mo's friendship really is, but I can tell you this. I have exactly zero reason to believe that they aren't as chummy as they appear to be or as they say they are. If you're going on vacation with another family, there has to be a high or a highest level of intimacy and confidence there of friendship, because there's a lot of people and a lot of chances for things to go south quickly. And then what? Your ass is trapped. So if Mo and Bob say they are brothers from other mothers, I believe him 100%. If Bob says Mo is one of his closest friends, I believe him 100%. Moreover, believe this 100% when I tell you there is a 0% chance there will ever be a Mo, Bob, and Greg podcast. Maybe there will be a Bob and Mo podcast in the future. Maybe there's already one in the works. But there will not be a three-way between us dudes. Wow, did I say that out loud?
Get that freak stuff out of here.
That sounded better in my head. Nevertheless, there will never be a podcast that involves the three of us as co-hosts. So we will wait until next week to see who I should be doing a podcast with then. By the way, can I please play one of my favorite sound bites from this interview last week? There were a lot of great moments from that interview, but this one stood out to me as a gem. Just to set it up a little bit, I asked Bob and Mo how they met initially. Mo mentioned that he tried calling into the Barbecue Guru when Bob was the marketing manager there a few times. Bob wouldn't take his call. And then at the 2008 American Royal, magic happened, and I'll let Mo take it from there.
And then we was at the American Royal, and Bob comes up to me, man, out the blue, man. He looked like a little kid, you know. And I said, "What's up, man?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm Bobby T." I said, "Bobby T, man, that sounds like a pimp. What the hell you? What the the hell you doing? And he gave me a barbecue guru, and we just hit it off.
All week, I'm walking around muttering the phrase in my head secretly and out loud. Yeah, I'm Bobby. I'm Bobby T. So I emailed Bob later in the week, and I asked him if that's how it really went down. He said no. But I'm going to believe in my own mind and heart that's exactly how it went down, because to me, it's funny as hell. And I'm not lying when I say that could be the next animation that Damian Rodriguez is going to be contracted to do by this show. 100%. Yeah, I'm Bobby. I'm Bobby T. I liked it so much, I made it its own sound drop on top of that sound drop that I just made. I'm Bobby T.
Yeah, I'm Bobby T.
Oh, Lord. My guess and what they say. Magic. Malcolm Reed is ready to go. Maybe he'll drop some magic that I can stick on my soundboard for later play. Actually, I have one of his. Pits and Spits is the best looking, best cooking smoker and grill on the planet. Pits and Spits offering a full family of products, including traditional offset smokers, wood pellet grills, charcoal grills, travel grills, combination pits, fire pits, and much more. Pits and Spits has been one of the only American fabrication shops focused on smokers and grills for more than 40 years. Why is that important? Because they're able to put an emphasis on quality and design, locally sourced materials, and unmatched attention to detail. From the fully welded barrels to the heavy gauge steel, they bring both function and beauty to life. Pits and Spits, building every product with the intention it's going to get passed down from generation to generation to generation. Whether you're into competition barbecue or you just want to take that barbecue and grilling game in the backyard to the next level, there's a product for you over at Pits and Spits. Check them out at the website and this special link, pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. That's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central Show. Both the Pits and the Spits have the double T on the Pits and the Spits. Use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with your order of $500 or more. So if you're ordering a cooker, you're well past $500 there. If you already have a cooker at home and you accumulate $500 in accessories or rubs or side cookers or fire pits for free things, because we love free things here on the show, use promo code BBQ Central at checkout and you'll get a free spice pack with $500 or more on your order. We might have some new messaging coming up, too, because Pits and Spits is extended through the second half of the year, which we certainly appreciate. Jason Zboril and all the gang out there. Coy, what's happening? And we'll be back with Malcolm Reed right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information. Or you can purchase at Amazon.com, Lowe's.com, wherever you like. Plus, they got great shipping. Amazon, Lowe's. There's another one that I can't remember right off the top of my head. But it's a big one. It's the good folks over at cookinpellets.com. My first guest tonight is the pitmaster of Killer Hogs competition team and the co-creator of How to Barbecue Right. And our first Tuesday of the month regular guest. It's our pal Malcolm Reed. Hey, Malcolm.
What's up, Greg? We're halfway, man.
I can't believe it. We are here, undoubtedly, as I said, the first Tuesday of January 2023, rapidly coming to a close. And look who's right. Time waits for no man. Before we get into things here, Malcolm, I want to ask you the YouTube poll question of the week. Would you make a 50-50 mix of wood pellets and wood chips put them in your pellet cooker hopper to increase the smoke flavor from your pellet cooker.
I heard you talking about it. That's very interesting. I wouldn't do it if I didn't have an extra grill to cook on, because I don't know what it's going to do. The manufacturer says don't do it,
of course.
But I have used like dehydrated onion and dehydrated garlic and put herbs and stuff in there to give the pellets a different flavor. We poured those right in the hopper before, like buy the big bottle from Sam's and just add them for added flavor. I don't know what the BTUs would do off burning. Those chips burn so hot and so fast. So one, I'm worried about them building too big a fire in the fire pot. And also, are they going to get jammed up? Because those pellets are hard and those chips are going to compress a lot. So I don't know what they're going to do with that force. But it's interesting. And, it's something that, I'm not opposed to trying out one of my old banger grills.
Are you familiar with Ballistic Barbecue on the YouTubes?
I've seen his videos. Yeah, he's been around a good bit. I think he's West Coast, maybe.
San Diego, I believe. And
yeah.
I was forwarded a link by Dennis Busso out in Colorado. And he said, hey, take a look at this. Not saying try it or just something he found interesting. And here's this guy, as I was talking about, on the specific grill, Lone Star Grill pellet cooker. I don't know anything about it. And he said, what do we always hear about pellet cookers? The smoke profile is not as heavy as a stick burner. Look, I have a whole weird thought about what people really feel like about smoke. You, me, your family, my family, they're helpless. They're indoctrinated into this barbecue and grilling lifestyle, so they might develop a little bit more of a heavier palate for smoke. But I think by and large, the general public likes to talk about I'm smoking or it has smoke flavor, but they're not really into a heavy smoke profile. So that's where the success, aside from keeping temperature and you don't have to learn how to manage a fire or anything like that, but the wood smoke is there, but it's nice and light. It's agreeable to most palates. And this guy trying to press more smoke flavor into something that's built to give you basically a lighter smoke profile, I think is interesting, like you said. I would never try it in any of my grills too, because my luck would be it wouldn't jam right up front or jam towards the burn box where it might burn through the jam. It's going to be right in the middle of that pipe. And then I'm going to have to stick some kind of an air hose up there and blow it out, what have you. And it's going to be a nightmare. So again, I'm not suggesting anybody do this. I'm just asking the question. But you're up to it for one of those toss-aways before you put it on the tree lawn. You might load it up with a 50-50 and see what works.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to. Now we're talking about it. You've done convinced me. We got to see if it works. I'll record it, see how it goes.
All right, we're going to make a TikTok. It's going to be great.
There you go.
It's going to be great. All right, so let's talk about last month, Memphis in May. We had a big build-up to it. As I had mentioned to Chris Lilly a couple weeks ago, it seemed like this particular Memphis in May had build-up to it, the likes we had never seen, stretching back months and months before the event actually comes to pass. So when you look at just the competition part, we'll get into some of the ancillaries and the park itself talk and whatnot. How did the cooking portion go for you this year?
Everything went pretty smooth this year. We didn't finish as good as I'd hoped, but it's Memphis in May. You do what you do. But as far as the way the actual competition ran on Saturday, everything was smooth, man. There was no issues that I heard of with judging. I've heard some rumors of stuff. Some people weren't kind of happy with some results, but that's always the case. But on my end, everything went good. Weather was great. It was Memphis in May. It was definitely felt smaller scale. You could tell that the teams was scaled down. It didn't seem like it was as festive as it has been in the past.
From a results standpoint, as you had talked about, we had mentioned last time that you guys were switching to do a whole hog. You were using Jay from the grill company. I'm not going to remember. Outlaw, right? And he had that special like pivot pit, and it was a offset, but then it also had a part for you to take coals out of the offset and place them directly underneath to kind of get that old school flavor. Do you think that played into not having as great a success, or did you have enough practice on it leading into it where that wasn't a factor?
Yeah, no, our hog turned out great. On-site scores were where we, knew they would be. It always comes down to blind box at Memphis in May. You got to get on the right blind table. I think we stuck 2 9s and like a 9.6, and that's how tight our scores were to be at 18.
Mhm.
So I mean, you're not. We're talking. I mean, minuscule. It could have easily went the other way, and we would have been in top 10. Who knows? We may have finaled. So there's a little luck part to it. Our hog turned out fantastic. We slowed the cook down some. We kind of held it a little, too, to give it some time to rest on in and everything. From our standpoint, we were really thrilled with the product. So it was as good a hog as we've ever turned in at Memphis in May.
Would you back it up next year? Go whole hog again?
Yeah, definitely. It was fun. It's a fun cook. I got a good squad that does the nighttime work, so I kind of take that off me. I'm there on Friday, and then I go home a little bit and come back bright and early Saturday to finish it up. So that's the schedule. The schedule on our side just works for hog, and hog judged last this year, so we didn't have a judge on site till like 1:15, 1:30, something like that. So that's a pretty good stretch. You got a lot of time on Saturday to catch things up if something is going wrong. So I like that aspect of it.
Your opinion on the newly renovated Tom Lee Park? Plus, I think we're only, a week removed outside of the music festival that takes place ahead of the actual cooking competition?
From what I saw, I mean, it just from looking at it for me, they added a bunch of gardens. They added some playground equipment, stuff like that. They kind of made it more visitor friendly to where when it's not a festival, there's something to do there because it was just a giant field. And it looked good. They weren't really done with all. There's a lot of it roped off, or they were just trying to keep people off of it. They made loading in and getting our trailers in and out and stuff like that was a little more challenging because the paths that we used to have that were wide, they've got some of them you can't even travel on. They don't want cars and trucks on them. They don't want trailers on them. There was a little bit. I would say there's a lot of policing what was going on with us, what we could do. And if, you felt, I'll say you felt like they didn't want you there. So, that part was strange to us because most of the time, Memphis in May is just a cool laid back event, but it was a little more heavily policed this year.
Outside of these two big events, I don't know if you know or not, are there a lot of other festivals or reasons to use this park, or otherwise would it be more family oriented or some tourists just kind of bebopping around until they leave town for however long they're in?
Yeah, that's it. That's the only one I know of that's ever, in May is the only time I know that they do festivals there. So the rest of the time it's public use.
In your opinion, is this a place that Memphis in May can stay for the long term? Or in order to keep this competition the way it typically would feel, it's going to have to move?
If they want to grow it, no. If they want to do some kind of a downsized barbecue contest, possibly, But I don't see it ever going back to its heyday where there's, 350 teams in there and, they got all the divisions slapped full, people waiting to get in and hundreds of thousands of people coming through there. I don't know. It's going to be tough, man. It's just not set up for it now.
Is there an alternate location around Memphis where you could still call it Memphis in May, accommodate 250 to 300 teams and still have it feel like it? Or once you move it away from there, I mean, you've already taken a lot of the aesthetic out of it. As you said, it was a field prior to that, sitting on the Mississippi. You always talk about how great the view is and how much of a great competition it is for you. Mo Kason said it's his favorite competition to cook every year, and it has been for years and years. He did very well this year as well. So is there something around there that can make it feel like that, or once you move it, it's going to change the whole dynamic?
They've tried it twice. We've moved it twice. One, with the flood one year, and then the last time was park renovation. But I don't, it just doesn't have the same feel. There's something about being right there on the banks of that river that makes that contest special. And you could call it Memphis in May and move it to some big parking lot or event space or something like that. But it's not going to have the same allure, the same attraction of getting people down there to the river and downtown. That's a lot of it too. I mean, we're right at the foot of Bill Street, and Bill Street's a happening place in Memphis. That's where tourism thrives. And you've got all the hotels, all the restaurants, all the blues music, the blues clubs and stuff like that, the great barbecue downtown. that's just what Memphis in May is. And when you go away from that, I mean, it's just going to be another another barbecue contest.
Give me a percentage on the following question. There is an X% chance that 2023 was the last time Memphis in May will ever be seen again.
Again, in some form, I'm going to say 75. On the river, I'm probably going to go 30% of maybe back there. I feel like they're not going to have it back down. I mean, just because I know the money they put into it down there, and it's going to take a lot to fix it back, because no matter how much you police it, or if you have two large festivals bringing in and out that much equipment, all the infrastructure it takes to put on those contests, of course it's going to do some damage to the landscape. So it would be an every year thing having to fix that back. And until they get a grip on how much that's going to cost and the time it takes to do it, that's the whole thing. I mean, the city's not looking at it as a moneymaker. It's not, they didn't do all those renovations to make money. They wanted to make a pretty place that drew people in year round, the families, the community had a place for something to do. They're not really concerned about these two contests they have, a music festival and a barbecue contest. I don't think that's kind of where the butting head goes. The city of Memphis doesn't run the contest.
Right.
It's Memphis in May is its own organization. So they're basically, temporary leasing that site to have that contest. So, if they owned it, it would be different, but with the way it is now, it's going to be tough.
Chris Lilly told me,
and I'm no official either, Greg. This is just opinion, straight opinion.
Chris Lilly gave his opinion a couple of weeks ago. He said he thought it was a 50-50 shot that it would be back at Tom Lee Park. However, he also gave me 50-50 that we would ever see Memphis in May again.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I hope for all the teams and all, the people that we've been invested in it in years and the memories we have down there, I hope we still get to have it in some form. I see myself still doing it.
Which is the bigger, more impressive win? 2022 Blues Hog doing the whole hog on that huge ass drum, or this year Ribdiculous ending a 20+ year dry spell, Ribs winning overall world championship? Which is the bigger win?
I'm gonna have to say Ribs, just because it's been so long.
Yeah.
I mean, there hasn't been a rib team. That was the first rib team that's won since I started cooking in Memphis in May. And I've been doing it a long time, since 2006. So that's, that's something there. I mean, the hog on the drum's awesome. Those guys, they did an awesome job. The Blues Hog Gateway guys, that was unbelievable. But for a rib to finally get a win at Memphis in May, that's pretty amazing.
What keeps Ribs out of it? I mean, aside from the last winner, who I don't think anybody knows, Pyro Pig Maniacs, the only other rib winner that you could probably think of off the top of your head is going to be Mike Mills over at Apple City Barbecue. Yeah. And other than that, I doubt anybody could pick off a rib winner just off the top of their head. What keeps Ribs out of it?
I think it's just, with ribs, you've usually got about 10, 12 bones there that you're presenting to a judge. There's not as much as you could do to them, giving them all that hog, the shoulder, the loin, the ham, the belly to finish it off. Or when you're even going through a whole shoulder, there's just so more meat, so much more to talk about, so much more to dog and pony for them than just a rib. It's got to be, for a rib to win, to me, it's got to be a hell of a rib, Greg. It's just got to knock your socks off. And how often do you have a baby back rib that does that compared to this other meat,
I've often said, even I can cook a pretty kick-ass rib. So that's going to be a tough one to win, a huge contest like this. But as somebody who likes to cover it and enjoys competition, to see a 21-year dry spell finally get knocked off, it was certainly very cool to see. And we'll see if that gets backed up again next year. So let's keep on the competition talk here just for a second. I came across some things that have piqued my interest over the last week or so. So I'm asking some competition folks I know about it. And it was a pretty hot topic on some social platforms last week. Let me paint a scenario for you, Malcolm. Let's say you and I go to a barbecue contest and we're set up next to each other. We get to talking. And I tell you that all the meat that I have is pre-trimmed by some type of service. For instance, I called into so-and-so butcher shop here in Cleveland. The guy that runs the meat counter there just happens to be a competition cook, and he said, hey, do you want me to competition trim the ribs and the brisket and the chicken and the pork shoulder. So it's all ready for you to go once you show up on site. And I said, well, hell yeah, I want to do that. Do you have an issue with that?
No, man, they've been doing that for years with folks. There's butchers in Memphis that do it. They even trim your whole hogs like that.
Really?
So you can, I know guys that ordered competition trim butts from out in Kansas City and had them shipped to them. So, that's not something that's new or anything. That's been going on for a long time. And as long as the rules say that you can show up with trim meat, I don't see any problem with it. I mean, I guess it's saving them some time. I don't know if it's helping the cook. You still got to cook it. You still got to do everything to it. But I mean,
do you feel like
there may be a little bit of it? I mean,
do you feel like
no more advantage than it is buying a brisket?
Do you feel like pre-cook though? The pitmaster isn't evolving his skills in the proper way or anything like that, or is that up to the individual cook?
We all know it's how you finish this contest anyway. It's how you put it in that box and the flavors you put on it right at the end. It's that's what's winning these contests. When you look at everybody's that's been said, it's just turning into a sweeter and sweeter and sweeter contest. That's the way comp barbecue's going until everybody's on a level playing field where they're all getting the same meat at the same time when you get there, and you have to take that from start to finish. I don't think you're gonna level it much more, because if I can spend $250 on a brisket and somebody's coming to bat with the Walmart brisket, I mean, how is that fair? So, and I look at it, I mean, if I want to cook the best, I want to have the best equipment, I want to have the best meat if I'm doing it, I want to give myself the best chance to win. So it just kind of grows and grows from that.
What's the latest update on the smoke shed in the back?
Oh man, I'm getting TVs installed this end of this week. It's getting close, man. We're down to final clean and getting some sod put around and fix up some of the dirt work, and I'll be moving in. So that I don't know if I'm going to shoot any more videos until I get all my smokers down there and get it set up.
Oh,
so I might not be putting out something, I mean, just other than some short stuff, some reels, things like that. But
those are still
long
pretty
form,
popular though, right? Like the short stuff still hitting pretty good.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I mean, the eyes are on short stuff right now. That's where we finally had TikTok overtook our YouTube page.
From followers?
That's crazy. Yeah, from followers. Yeah.
How many followers you got on the tickers?
It's like it just hit 1.7. So
You're kidding.
I mean,
wow.
No, it's unbelievable.
What about Instagram? Is that growing as well too, or TikTok just seems to have the momentum?
Yeah, Instagram's different. It was all photos for a while, and that's what it took. But Instagram has gone to all video, it seems now. People want the short stuff on Instagram and the videos, and that's what there's still eyes there. There's still eyes on Twitter. It's just not as much, there's so many ways people can consume content now that I feel like you have to play in all of them a little bit. You have to have a presence, and that has to be kind of your focus if you're going to do it. It's hard to just pick one platform and roll.
Make sure you are following him at all the social media platforms and also on YouTube. It's the co-creator of How to Barbecue Right and the pitmaster of Killer Hogs Team. You find him right here the first Tuesday of every month. Malcolm, always appreciate the time. We'll see you in July.
All right, see you next month. Hey, what are we doing July 4th, man? I don't know if I'm going to be there.
Well, wait a second. Now hold the presses. Is it July 4th on Tuesday?
It is.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we're going to have to game plan that off air, right?
That's yeah, because I'll probably be blowing up something with my son.
Yeah, that's probably
night,
a big night for you. All right, we'll get to it. We'll get to it off air. We'll figure out what we're going to do. Thank you, Malcolm, as always. I didn't even think about that. Holy moly. Well, next month, it's July 4th. I can rest assured. Nobody's probably contracting me for big parties for July 4th, number one. Number two, I don't do fireworks, so I'm not blowing anything up. Number two, I'm going to be right here doing a show. Hell or high water. That's right. If we got a backfill guest, we can backfill guest. No problem. I'm not looking to encroach on anybody else's good time. But at 9 o'clock at night, people should be getting ready, settle in for bed. No dangerous stuff like fireworks. Blow your hand off doing that nonsense. Come here to the show. Be safe. Enjoy some live fire talk. We'll recount what we had eating earlier in the day, in the evening. Why do we love ceramic cookers? I could give you a laundry list, but how about this? We love that they're fuel efficient, number one. We love that they can achieve low and slow temperatures. Also, we love that you can really spool them up for the high heat grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in this day of every common ceramic cook? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking is very important to both professional and backyard cooks alike. It's the best way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a two-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker is not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Well, enter Primo Grill and the game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute that two-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure the Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. They have all the accessories that you want as well, because as cooker owners, initially we like the cooker, but then it's like, how many accessories you got? I need all the accessories. Give me accessories. Well, they got them. They have Primo Grill rotisserie accessory, the Primo Grill pizza accessory. What did I see just on the social media is a little bit early? Remember that freestanding piece of crap that I had out in the backyard for a while, that art flame? Well, we got rid of that boat anchor. However, if you liked the style, right, you liked getting a fire underneath, a piece of steel like the disc, you had that grill in the center portion, then you could flat top on the outside of it. They came with the disc. I don't know exactly what it's called. I got to reach out to Nick Bauer and see what the deal is. I have some marketing names I would like to talk to him about. They haven't officially named it, yes, but I'm not going to mention it here. Go to primogrill.com and find a dealer near you. Only sold through dealers. And check out the oval that's best for you. Buy it. And start looking at all the videos. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Why not? primogrill.com. We're back with Mike Lang right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And we thank Malcolm Reed for joining us last segment. HowToBBQRight.com, his website. And subscribe to him on YouTube.com/@HowToBBQRight, I would imagine. This segment brought to you by Fireboard. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, Fireboard, you're in luck, because Fireboard is fully integrated with both. You can find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. And might I suggest adding the Fireboard Spark to your arsenal? I'm reaching for it more and more. And at $150, it's giving you extra value because it's also a one-channel Fireboard. So not only is it instant read and it's very accurate and fast, if you have the probe, you can turn it into a one-channel Fireboard if you're doing a roast or pork butt or whatever. Fireboard.com. Hey, my next guest tonight is a regular on this show. If you follow him on social media or visit his website, you're typically delighted at his recipe creation, his photography and video shooting skills, brand-wise, most associated with the industry leader, Weber. We race to the hotline and welcome back Mike Lang from Another Pint, Please. Mike, we have to start with YouTube's poll question of the week, if you don't mind, and I'm asking everybody this. Would you make a 50-50 mix of wood pellets and wood chips to increase the smoke flavor of your pellet cooker?
You know, I'm always about experimentation, but I would not do that because I'm sure I would have a disaster.
63% of the YouTube voting public is also agreeing with you. They are not going to make... I'm sorry, they are not... Oh, what the fuck? Hold on, Mike. This is terribly embarrassing. I had a terrible issue where all of my sound drops got relegated to the original sound output, and then I had to go back and do it. they would not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
They would not also attempt a mix of wood chips and wood pellets. What's your concern, aside from just being a disaster? What's the engineerical concern? That's not a word.
Well, I think Malcolm actually hit. You're working outside of the manufacturer's recommendation, so Lord only knows what you're going to have happen. I mean, if you're a novice pellet user anyways, you could have trouble just with pellets. Add in something flammable as wood chunks. I just don't think it's a good idea. But I get the premise of bringing wood into the cook, but I just don't think that's the way to do it.
Well, I think if you were looking for a wood chip fired cooker, those dreams have been dashed, unfortunately, because while there was one coming to market, it has since been walked back over the last 2 or 3 months. So if you had put in a pre-order for that Ripped Grill, RIPT, those pre-orders have been refunded, or deposits have been refunded. That grill's not going to happen. And I think that was the only thing that was even remotely close to it was 100% close because it was a wood chip driven grill, but there's nothing else on the market that is remotely close to a wood chip grill at this point. So you're going to have to wait and see if anybody else decides to do that. But nonsense, Mike. Let's talk about some real stuff. The last time you were on, mid-February, I believe it was, we were talking about the release of the new Weber Griddle, freestanding griddle. And there was a race between Weber and Traeger to release theirs one day before the other. It's always a race between Weber and Traeger for whatever reason. And now that you've had, let's call it 4 months of experimentation, maybe even longer than that before it was actually revealed. Maybe you were given an advance copy of that grill a few months before that. In your time having it, has it exceeded expectation?
Oh my gosh, yes. In fact, I like it so much I almost feel bad about it.
Why?
It's like griller's guilt. Talking about live fire cooking, and I'm like, I'm going to go fire up that griddle powered by propane.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think part of it is for those of us that have been doing this for a long time, it's something different. And it's always fun to gravitate towards a way of doing things we've always done. But yeah, I got to admit, I feel a little bit guilty about how much I enjoy it.
I remember the first time I got my hands on a pellet cooker after I had routinely, this is a long time ago now, after I had routinely talked shit on pellet cookers in every form and fashion. And then Grilla sent me one in secret, said, don't talk about it on the show. We just want you to do some R&D, report back every few weeks as you use it. What do you like? What do you don't like? What would you like to see added? Well, Mike, I fell in love with this pellet cooker. And what was I going to do? Remain a charlatan on my show and talk shit? I couldn't do it. So I finally had to reveal my new love of pellet cookers and how all this time I was talking out of school, and here I was, a huge fan. I remain a huge fan. And as to your point of something new, you find yourself going to it, I am not going to lie. You've seen the smash burger craze for how long has it been? A year or two that it's been really hot? Maybe 3 years, I think. I just started doing smash burgering in my house because my oven has a flat top griddle, like a little piece of shit thing in the middle there. But it works. I have to tell you, I love it. I'm late to the game, Mike, but I love it. They're tasty. They're Maillarded all over the place. Even the kids like it. And this is from a guy who has professed love, undying, passionate love for Bubba Burger, which everybody laughs at me for, but I love that. But if given the choice right now, if you put a gun to my head, Bubba Burger or Smash Burger, I'm Smash Burger guy right now, and they're fun to cook.
Oh, yeah. I'm Team Smash Burger for sure. I've always had a funny relationship with hamburgers anyways. I kind of blame my dad for it growing up. That would make, the grilled hamburger that turns into a meatball sort of thing. So I've always kind of,
the guy that we see on
when it comes
social
to
media?
Griddle, yes,
He seems like an expert.
First time dad. He is, but I had the early days when he was working hard for the family. The burgers are not so good. Steaks on Sunday are fantastic. And I was lucky too. The griddle first experience for me was back in the fall of 2022 up at Weber headquarters, working with the product team, marketing team, and training teams, doing videos for not only the standalone griddles, but also the drop-in griddles. And for the versatility of having a gas grill, be able to drop a griddle into it all of a sudden. I've got a Genesis, right? There's a drop-in griddle in it all the time because I happen to use it so much.
What could be better with the Weber griddle?
I would say all griddles in general, the biggest thing is the mess they can make. And that's not brand agnostic. I mean, it's funny. I harken back. I may have mentioned it before with you. I worked at Friendly's as a grill cook when I was the summer after high school for like 3 months. And the biggest thing I know as an adult is the smell of dinner from the restaurant coming home. And it's because you're working that flat top and there's no different at home. I've got to take care that the deck is not stained with grease or the concrete's not, or more importantly, I'm not ruining clothes basis, which is pretty easy to do. So if there's a way to self-contain that, I think we'd all be better off, but it's just the nature of the beast. And frankly, when it comes down to it, I still love it many years later after my first foray on a restaurant flat top.
It seems the biggest size for most residential units is 36, like the standard biggest size. Would bigger be better? Would you be happy with a 48 or a 64 or anything like that?
No, I mean, funny enough, I've got the 28 and I think it's quite manageable, even cooking for 5 people, bigger. You can certainly do more if you're going to entertain more, have a bigger family, more friends on a regular basis. But I find the 28 really quite manageable. And on the Weber one, the one thing I like about it from a photography video standpoint is the cover comes off. So I get better light coming across for those smash burgers. With the larger size, the cover is built into it on a swivel. And I'm always like, I don't like that as much for the light, which is a totally, a Mike Lang problem and not everybody else.
Camera eats first, right, pal?
The camera always eats first.
Simply Recipes is a website you've been contributing stuff to. You have anything working currently over there?
Yeah, they've got a digital grill issue coming up in June. And, it's funny. You think Simply is part of the larger Dot-Dash Meredith umbrella, things like Serious Eats and Food and Wine, Liquor.com. And I find it is a great resource even for me, even to contribute to it, but for looking for things that are out of the box that you can either put on the grill that aren't meant for it, or even some good grilling ideas. I'm thrilled I can contribute as a voice for grilling and getting people outside to fire up their gas grill or their charcoal grill. So definitely has some new things coming up for that, including some videos. But for the average cooker, even on a weeknight looking for an idea, I always it's a great resource.
Mike Lang joining us here on the show, anotherpintplease.com, his website. Like over the years of our online relationship, although we have met in person, which is, few and far between with most folks, it's like I've almost lived at your house here over the last 12 years or 13 years that I've known you. And we were exchanging some notes back and forth, and you had mentioned that soon enough, the Lang House or Lang HQ is going up for sale, and you're going to be moving away from the deck that most people probably are familiar with all of your work that you're either shooting for the website or with Weber and all that. A famed live fire deck, an iconic live fire deck, if I say so, especially amongst us nerds. So where are you going, and is there going to be a 10-tiered deck wherever you're going?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I always say every story comes to an end, but with that end is a new beginning. I have a wonderful girlfriend. I'm moving in with her and her kids. And part of the excitement of that is transferring what I've done here to a brand new grilling studio at her place. So we're converting a 1,000 square foot plus pole barn into a full grill studio with a kitchen, a commercial kitchen, and most importantly, space for the 40-some grills that I've got right now. I think you're right. I mean, I've lived in this house and really built 3/4 of it myself, including 3 phases of the deck, which is about 1,000 square feet by itself. But it's just everything gradual course. And it is funny because the deck has been like, when the Weber Summit Kamado was first rolled out, that was where all that was filmed, and really a lot of Weber social and videos for the last decade have been there. But I also think people are probably tired of seeing it. And I know I am, so I'm excited for this new chapter in my life, and importantly, just having the space and the freedom to do all the creation things that I'm so lucky to be able to do in a new environment and make it even better and just throw myself into it 1,000% more.
I don't know a lot of folks that are doing it, but it does seem to be something that is starting to bubble up, maybe not as a trend, but some things that something that people are doing that are in this space and that are content creators. So you're going to be converting a pole barn into this evergreen space. Malcolm Reed is in the process of building his pit room. Sounds like it's almost on the finishing side of the race at this point. Jeff Rice over Dead Broke Barbecue did a huge build out. I don't know if he built something from scratch or if he's converted a garage into something, but now he has this evergreen space. And of course, Maddie and Kiki up in Canada have a grill barn or, grill studio, whatever the hell they call it. The thing that holds true to all of these ideas is you're all content creators, all in the live fire space. And I think most everybody is living in an area where there are seasons. And unfortunately, one of those seasons is late fall and then all of winter, which you've proven time and time again. You're a real man. You're going to go outside, whether there's 70-degree days or it's negative 70 degrees, and you're going to cook. But it would certainly be nice to have a space that is a little bit more climate controlled and out of those elements for you to at least keep control of things as you're making recipes or testing or shooting content. As somebody that's going to be making this thing basically from scratch, you have the structure. You're putting in all of these items. If somebody is also thinking about doing it, what are the most important things that you think the content creator should keep in mind building out a space?
Yeah, I think part of it is, number one, what do you actually want to use it for? Is it simply a backdrop for, doing recipe videos or tutorials or stories or reels? I'm actually looking for a space for something larger to do. And I'm trying to cram all that into one space. But I think really getting a really good idea on what that end use is going to be, and then being very clear on what your visual plan is to make that space appealing and happening. And I think we touched on part of that too, is making it evergreen. One of the things is if you're creating content for brands or for a company, is to make sure it can speak to anybody no matter where, and not to necessarily pigeonhole you as saying, okay, that person's in Florida, or they're in the mountains in Colorado, but to a space that is truly evergreen for year round and for no matter where you are in not only this country, but frankly in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mike Lang joining us here on the show. And last September, we did a little thing called Grill Fest, and it appears that the same key players might be making a reappearance here in a few months. Which is only, 3 months of September. So right around maybe 3 months to the day even. I think it was mid-September of this year, maybe towards the end, 24th or something like that. There'll be a 2023 Grill Fest. You're going to be on board?
I'm on board and confirmed, yeah.
Signed,
I'm excited.
Sealed, and delivered. Have you already been talking about menu items, or you do the same thing as last year? What's the thought?
I've been thinking about it, but nothing concrete. I'm not sure yet. Part of it also is what actual products that they want to present from Weber. So that kind of dictates what the end result's going to be, but I'm sure I'll think of something. The biggest question for me is, will we have time for a cigar afterwards?
Well, I can guarantee there will be Brothers of the Leaf sharing, no doubt. And I have some great new ones to introduce you to. So don't worry about that. We'll make sure that you're set right as you go back to Cincinnati. A few other things here before we wrap up tonight. I know you're not a competitive cook, but one of the hot topics on the show has been pre-trimmed meat being delivered to a team instead of the team's lead knife person or trimmer doing it themselves. You have a problem with somebody having pre-trimmed meat and competing?
Long as you're following the rules, I don't see why it's a problem. I've listened to your comment about that, and there's always there's that parallel. The purists always say, make it from scratch. If I'm going to make a salad, I should make a vinaigrette from scratch. It's pretty easy. At the minimum, it's like 3 or 4 ingredients. But sometimes if time and necessity, there's nothing wrong with buying something pre-made, or in this case, pre-trimmed. But if it follows the rules and it helps things out for a team in another way, then, more power to them.
July 4th, you won't be on Tuesday, or maybe you will be back in a month from now on, July 4th. Didn't understand where July 4th was falling on the calendar. Your go-to menu items.
Oh, gosh. It's sadly on July 4th, I'm usually working the day job. I've not given it up yet, which is horrible. I get no sleep that night.
Yeah, it's probably very busy.
And yeah, it's usually a nightmare. But anyways, But when I'm actually not working, for me, something simple like pulled pork. It's a day I want to spend more time with family and friends. And that's just the best barbecue. It's forgiving. It's easy. It's always a crowd pleaser. And to me, that's just what I like to do.
Mike Lang has created Another Pint Please. There's great recipes, great photographs. Make sure you're also following him socially. And you can see him here on the show as well. Mike, always appreciate the time. And we will see you again soon.
Thanks so much, Greg. Take care.
It's Mike Lang right there. Another Pint Please. He's also pretty active on Instagram as well. Another Pint Please there. So go to the website and you can link to his socials from there. Make sure you're following him correctly. And great stuff as always. He's a big griddle guy. Big Weber griddle guy, of course. Not shocked there. But he's going to the griddle more and more. That's kind of what I'm wondering as I'm seeing all of these new griddles being brought to market by various manufacturers, especially to the ones that are just coming out now. I would say a little late to the game, but the demand still seems to be there. The varying price points still seem to be there. I believe at some point in the next 3 or 4 years, some of them will weed themselves out and will be left with probably that low to mid tier. So like $300 to $600 or $700. The top line ones will probably weed themselves out, in my opinion. But we'll see how it goes. All right, we'll be back and wrap this first hour. Your emails are welcome, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. And we'll be back right after this. Stick around.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Mike Lang for joining us last segment. AnotherPintPlease.com, his website. Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue. Is that a baby white snake on Greg's neck? No! Joe, do I strike you as a man that would be okay with a baby white snake? Or any animal on me? No, never. For those that are wondering, it's been here for years, 2 years now. Maybe not 2 years. I have this in-ear monitor, which allows me to hear the guests, all that stuff, but then it hides for aesthetics on the camera. This would be the left ear, which is in this case. But of course, this is also the ear that has given me problems where I had that deadly ear disease that was going to kill me within 25 years. It's going to grow through my face, paralyze this portion of my face, then grow into my brain and eliminate me. But we got that worked out. However, the last time they went in to fix it, they had to increase the opening in my ear to have like a straight shot into the eardrum in order to have this thing that kept reoccurring not reoccur. Well, the bad news is this. These are custom molded. So now that I have a much bigger ear opening on this side, the earpiece doesn't fit into my ear. It sinks in. So this should be powering another ear, but it doesn't fit in my ear anymore. And now this ear hurts on the inside, so I don't want to get a new mold made. First world problems, Joe, is what I'm saying, right? Of course. I'm not really complaining. So if you would much rather think that it's a baby white snake on my neck, yes, that's exactly what it is. Ready to strike at any malfeasant or ne'er-do-well that dare step foot into this studio. I won't have it. I have a snake here ready to jump and infect you with electricity. Thank you for writing in, Joe. Or something else you had in, too. Yeah, I don't understand this. You wrote this a while ago. Can you bring back the red do-rag? I don't even know what that means. Explain yourself on the break as we close the first hour. while you're at it, refresh libations. And we'll point to the second hour. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. Be right back.